Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the.
And let me
This is
just
Andy.
mention that when you're making a motion or making a comment, please state your name. Thank you.
This is Andy. I second the motion.
And who made the motion?
Jeff.
Thank you. Okay, it has been moved and properly seconded to approve the agenda for today's meeting. Any questions or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposition, same sign? Thank you. The agenda has been.
Question, Madam Chair. Looking at the consent agenda, do we under these rules, do we have to do a roll call vote for every one of these?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
It appears that we do, so we
So
would
I
actually have to do it for that one.
This Vicky one.
Okay. Is that right?
It is, if people are visible, so Arthur, Rhonda, and Abel, and you can just raise your hand. The new law says you have to be either visible, or if you're not visible, we have to say your name.
But the problem is not everybody can see everybody.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then let's just go back. So then actually that should have been under item number 2. So then let's go back and we'll do a roll call vote for the agenda. Thank you. And Susan, are you doing the roll call?
Well, I can, however y'all would like it, just if you,
Yes,
so
it would need
I
to be-
I can't see anyone because I have my document open. So if everyone would, we'll start with the chairperson, if you will.
Approved.
Co-chair,
Approved.
Andy,
Approved.
Arthur,
Approved.
Abel,
Approved.
Jeff,
Yay.
Johnny,
Yay.
Rhonda.
Approve.
Who am I forgetting? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Maureen would be my last. Maureen, are you here?
I don't think so.
Okay, that's everyone.
Okay, great.
Thanks, Arthur.
So then we do have a unanimous approval for the agenda. Is there any public comment?
There is not.
Okay. All right. So now you also receive the minutes of the last meeting. We will use the same procedure. I will first entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes of the May 27th meeting.
This is Rhonda. I move to approve.
This is Andy. I second.
Thank you. All right. At this
So-
time, we will have a roll call approval for the minutes.
Gwen,
Approved.
Phil,
Approved.
Arthur. Andy already had
Approved.
you.
Approved.
Abel,
Approved.
Jeff,
Oh, yay.
Johnny,
Yay.
and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. So we have a motion and a second for the approval of the minutes. All are in favor. So the minutes then stand approved. All right, we'll move on to the finance report, the May 2020 financials, and the fiscal year end budget amendment. So Arthur, I will turn to you to lead that discussion, please.
Yes, ma'am. You guys were all sent out the financial statement through May the 31st. Nothing, the finance committee did meet and we'll have more when we talk about the budget amendments required to close out our fiscal year. But as far as the May statement itself, we did not see any areas of concern or anything really for comment other than the woeful lack of revenue. And so unless anyone has a question or clarification that they require for May 31st, I will go ahead and make a motion to approve the May 31st financials as presented.
Is there a second?
Feel like second it?
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Susan?
Madam Chairman.
Oh,
Chairman.
yes.
Question.
Oh, that's right.
on
Questions or concerns? I'm sorry.
The occupancy tax, this is through April? This is not May, right?
That's correct, Jeff. We have 2 months left.
Okay, that's what I just want to clarify.
Yeah, we're always 1 month behind, and so we'll have May and June yet to come in.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll do roll call now, if that's good with everybody. Gwen?
Any other questions or concerns?
Sorry.
No, that's all right. I forgot to. Okay, hearing none, roll call vote approved.
Okay, we got Phil and Arthur on the motion, so Abel,
Approve.
Jeff,
Yay.
Connie,
Approve.
Rhonda,
Approved.
Andy.
Approve.
I think that's everybody. Also, I want to tell y'all that I have a text message from Maureen. She says she gets a message that says it can't locate that conference. If you have a quorum, let's just let it be. Thanks.
That's weird.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so then with the unanimous approval, the May 2020 financials stand approved. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Next up, you also received in your packet a single sheet that is labeled budget amendment requests. And Karina, I didn't know if you were going to post anything up on the site. Okay.
That would be good. Yeah.
It's up right now. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Ma'am. So for us to accurately close out the year end, we need to make several amendments to our budget, primarily due to the dramatic decline in expected occupancy tax collections. And there actually are 3 different amendments. And as painful as this is, having to do a roll call vote, I think that we need to do them individually.
Yes.
Oh,
okay.
But anyway, the first one is just what I referred to a minute ago. We are going to amend our budget to reduce expected occupancy tax revenues by $100,000. And you can see the split on the screen or on the email that you may have printed out, how that is split between our 2 buckets and the city and the county, and the fee that we pay to Sherry by $100,000. We feel that will be an achievable achievable number to hit, given the 2 months that we have left and the trend that we're experiencing, which is positive in recovering from where we were in April, March and April. So to offset that reduction, the city and the county's expenditures and the admin fee are automatically by our legislation reduced by their proportion, and the remainder to balance that cut of $100,000, we were able to do all in the advertising and marketing, which basically Karina and the staff cut just about in total as soon as it became apparent how difficult this virus situation was going to be. So I'll first entertain any questions or clarifications. Hearing none. Oh, I'm sorry.
Are there any questions or concerns? Okay.
Hearing none, I will make a motion to amend our current fiscal year 2020 budget to reduce occupancy tax revenue due to a material decrease in collections from the COVID virus by $100,000 and a reduction, equal reduction in related expenses to balance that.
This is Jeff. I second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. At this time, we'll do the roll call vote.
Susan?
Susan? Can't hear you.
I had muted mine because
Okay,
there
you
was
got
noise in the
unmute.
background and I forgot to turn me back on. I'm back. Okay, Gwen.
Approved.
Gwen. Okay, Phil? Phil?
Sorry, forgot to turn mine on. Yay, yay.
Abel?
Approve.
Jeff? Oh, Jeff made a motion.
Yay.
Johnny?
Yes.
Rhonda?
Approve.
Andy?
Approved.
Okay,
That's it.
next up, just a couple of minor things. The first one, in the capital outlay section, we had budgeted $2,500 towards doing some work on our signage this year that we did not utilize. We since utilized that money to purchase 2 new laptops for the staff, and we are recommending to designate that signage money of $2,500 and move it into office furniture and equipment. And so on that one, I'm just going to go ahead and make a motion to adjust the budget to reflect that change.
This is Jeff.
Second?
Jeff. Second. This is Jeff. I second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. We'll now go to our roll call vote.
Gwen?
Gwen approved.
Phil?
Phil approved.
Abel?
Approve.
Johnny?
Yes.
Rhonda?
Approve.
Andy?
Approved.
All right, last up, this was actually an error on the financials that's been carrying since we made the motion back the first of the year or the end of last year, I don't remember which, where we already it was voted and we approved to appropriate $12,000 in fund balance as seed money for the Coast Guard half marathon. It was not put in fund balance appropriated, but the accountant created a new line item specifically for Coast Guard half marathon, and it should actually be in fund balance appropriated. So does anyone have any questions on that? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to amend the current budget to indicate that the previously approved seed money for the Coast Guard half marathon was a fund balance appropriation, and move that $12,000 into fund balance appropriated.
There a second?
This is Jeff. I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. At this time, we'll conduct the roll call vote. Gwen approves.
Bill approved.
Give me one
Abel?
second. Approve.
Johnny,
Approve.
Rhonda,
Approve.
and Andy.
Approved.
The only other thing we did in finance, that's everything to take care of our budget for the current year. We did make a decision to move most of the money that we have with North Carolina Capital Management into they have two different accounts, and all of our money right now is in the so-called government account, which is a little bit more liquid, but the other account has a higher rate of return, albeit slightly. And we've directed staff to work with North Carolina Capital Management and move the bulk of our money into the higher yielding fund while leaving approximately $100,000 in the government account. They are going to have all the paperwork ready, but since we were so close to the end of the year, they're going to wait until July the 1st to create that new account. And that was the extent of the finance report.
Okay. Any questions? Concerns? We've done the official vote for the two items, and so looks like Bill is out. Okay. All right, are we ready to move on to item 7? Hold a public hearing for fiscal year 2020-2021 budget and ordinance adoption. Karina, can you speak a little bit to that?
Sure, I'll pull the budget up.
Right. I think we previously reviewed that.
We previously reviewed this budget both in April and in May. But as a quick highlight, of course, occupancy tax revenues, we're currently predicting 400,000. And so there's a large fund balance appropriation in the current planned budget so that we can still maintain the majority of our programs, which I'll scroll down. The bulk of that, of course, is in advertising and marketing, and then in our visitor experience grants. The Coast Guard Half Marathon should be self-sufficient. So while we're showing it in our budget as an expense, we're also assuming sponsorship fees and runner registration fees will cover the majority of those expenses. So that's a super quick overview, and I can also pull up the budget ordinance, which Sherry created for us. And just do it this way. Here we go. And so this is what the full detailed budget, of course, that we reviewed last month. And then this budget ordinance will be our legal document once we vote on it. And it simply lists those numbers we just looked at for general fund, which categories we're spending the money in, and then where the revenue is coming from. Any questions?
Any questions, concerns? Okay, great, thank you. And thank you, Sherry. So we can then move forward to a vote on the public hearing referencing the 2020-2021 budget and the ordinance adoption. Is there a motion?
Did we actually open the public hearing?
Oh.
So it's a virtual one. So it would be, Susan, did you receive any emails?
I did not.
Okay.
So we virtually held it.
But you still have to formally open it. Then Susan will have to say, I received no comments. Then you have to formally close it. I know it's crazy, but you gotta.
Yeah.
So we
Thank you,
need a
Sharon.
motion to open it.
Yes, Gwen will have to open it. And then once she will ask you were there any comments, and you will again say.
Oh, you
no,
mean
there
in this, I didn't get direction on that. So I'm opening that here.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So at this time, we are opening up for any comments or concerns or statements with regard to the 2020-2021 budget.
Ask Sherry if she had any responses.
No,
No responses from me, and no.
Okay.
There were no responses from her.
So no responses from Sherry. Susan, did you receive any responses?
no responses on my end either.
Okay. Have I covered those persons that would have received responses?
Yes.
Okay. And nothing from the public. Okay.
So now you can, I apologize, I didn't know this either. So
Yeah,
now you can close the public hearing. So thank you,
Okay,
Sherry, for the help.
Thank you for guiding me because this wasn't, yeah.
This is new.
Yeah. So at this time, we are now closing the public hearing.
Correct.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Now,
and so
open
now
it for the board. Open it for the board.
we now open it for the members of the TDA board.
Yes, the comments.
Okay, any comments? Thank you all.
Now you close it for us.
Okay, are there any comments? I'm going to ask 3 times. Are there any comments? Okay, hearing none, the public hearing for members of the TDA board is now closed. Is that right?
Madam Chair, this is Jeff. I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Johnny,
Second.
second.
Thank you. At this time, then we will conduct a roll call vote.
Yes.
So,
Susan?
okay, Gwen,
Approved.
hang on just a second. Phil,
Approved.
Abel,
Approve.
Rhonda,
Approve.
Andy,
Approved.
Arthur,
Approved.
and Jeff made the motion and Johnny seconded
Oh,
it. Is that everybody? Did I miss anybody?
You're good.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion, a second, and a unanimous approval for the 2020-2021 budget and ordinance adoption. Okay, so then let's then move to the section consent agenda. And so Karina, I'm going to turn to you to walk us through this. Of course, this is falling under the adoption of the how we conduct business and how we vote on things virtually. And I'm thinking we need to make certain that our records reflect action taken in April and in May. Is that correct?
That is correct. So when I was speaking with John Leidy a few weeks ago, he shared with us that even though we adopted an electric meeting policy that allows us to meet virtually during a state of emergency, after we adopted our policy, the state legislation actually adopted their own, a new law, basically, that allows any public body within the state of North Carolina to host a virtual meeting during a state of emergency. And because the state did that, we have to follow the state guidelines. They supersede ours. And the state guidelines do dictate roll call voting on every single action, which of course we've implemented today, but we did not do so in April nor in May. So on the agenda, I simply listed every single item that we voted on. Susan and I did go back and check. All of these were unanimous votes. So we believe, and John Leidy concurred with this, that a simple, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a text message that somebody couldn't, so wanted to make sure. So it can be simply one roll call vote to cover everything that we previously unanimously voted on in April and in May. Any questions on that?
So April and May will not need to be separated?
He said one consent agenda item, and everything that's listed on the consent agenda, one vote. Yes, ma'am. And I can review those things real quick if you'd like. So in April, it would have been the approval of the agenda, the approval of our electronic meeting policy, the approval of the February minutes, the approval of the March 2020 finance statement, a motion to request the city and the county to adopt a proclamation for National Travel and Tourism Week, a motion to write a letter addressing legislators on behalf of Visit NC, a motion to approve a revised fiscal year 2019-2020 budget based on projections, a motion to adjourn. And then in May, approval of the May agenda, approval of the April minutes, approval of the April finance statement, approval of the Pasquotank County request for $1,000 of tourism expenditure funds, call for a public hearing, and then a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chairman, this is Jeff. I got a question.
Sure.
On the since the General Assembly passed a law on their own electronic meeting policy, does our current did we go back, or did Karina, did you go back and amend our electronic meeting policy to mirror the new law?
I talked to John about that. He said we don't have to, because whenever there's a state law, it supersedes anything we may have anyways. So he said we don't, ours is perfectly fine as is, because the state laws, I believe, specifically referred to the pandemic. Like the state law expires. So our virtual meeting policy will continue if there's a state of emergency at some point in time in the future. And if we want to change ours, we absolutely can, but for the time being, no, we have not done anything different to it.
So with
got
that said, is there something that needs to be added that indicates that if there, is a state mandate, that it then supersedes our existing policy?
I don't believe so, because that's a state law that's an umbrella law on everything.
Okay. Are there any
I
other
understand.
questions? Okay.
Johnny making a motion to adopt both of these agenda items.
Approval of the consent agenda for April and May. Okay, is there a second?
Able, second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second for the approval of the consent agenda, identifying those items listed in April and May. We'll now do a roll call vote. Susan? Gwen?
Gwen?
Approve?
Phil,
Approve.
Approved.
Rhonda,
Approve.
Andy,
Approved.
Arthur,
Approved.
Jeff, I can't remember who, Jeff, oh, Johnny,
Approved.
and, sorry, where's my second on this? Johnny
Abel.
and Abel made the motion and seconded, so that's everybody.
Okay, so then the consent agenda for those items stands approved. Thank you. And thank you, Karina, for reviewing those. Okay, we'll now move then to our committee reports. Arthur, anything additional for you?
No, ma'am.
Thank you for your work. We'll then move to Rhonda Twitty for marketing.
We mostly revised, reviewed, and completed the marketing plan. Mostly the staff did that, but we also, had our opportunities to participate, and I'll leave that to Karina under her new business item.
Oh, okay, great. And thank you all for that plan and sharing that. Andy Montero, visitor experience.
Yes. So we have a couple different topics to discuss. During our committee meeting, we reviewed the updated the matching marketing grant guidelines, that application. Karina, do you want me to go over the specifics of that discussion?
No, we can do, it's all under new business. I do have a brief slide, so I can go over it at that point, and then you can add anything I may have forgotten. Do we want to do it that way?
Okay. Yeah, that'll work. Thank you.
Okay.
So when we met, we just to get everybody up to speed, we reviewed the matching marketing grant guidelines for the general public, but also the city and county guidelines and their application. So those things will be highlighted here shortly.
Okay. Thank you. No presentations. And so, Karina, we now turn the screen to you for Tourism Director's report.
Terrific. And I did email this to everybody yesterday afternoon. Yep. It is also shared on the screen, so if you can see it on screen, you can follow along or on paper. So the first, oops, I went too fast. I just wanted to share a copy of the full page ad for Visit Elizabeth City that is in the July issue of Our State. It's funny, a lot of people have been commenting on it very positively. So it's nice to see that our partners are seeing this work and appreciating it. Moving ahead, the majority of my presentation is about the current state of the travel industry due to the continued impacts that COVID-19 is having. So I'll jump right into it. I will say this month, the research shows it's a story of mixed messages and uncertainty. There's some positive trends, some negative trends, and some things that have actually gone backwards. very strong story of travelers' needs and desires for safety, safety, and more safety. It really shows an uncertain path forward. So first, we can see that this is from US Travel, and we looked at this the last 2 months. The column on the left, weekly travel spending losses throughout the entire United States. This is in billions of dollars. So through mid-April, it was 99 million. Mid-May, 178. And we are now at a loss of over $236 billion due to the pandemic and lack of travel. What we can see, however, and this is slightly good news, is you can see back in February, we were averaging about $20 billion a week in spending across the entire country. That plummeted in late March, kind of flattened out through April, and you can see it's slowly going back up. So the good news is people are starting to travel again, and they are starting to spend money. We're still significantly below average spending. This is North Carolina specific data. Again, we looked at this the last 2 months. The blue is year-over-year percent change in weekly travel spending, and the purple is net change in millions of dollars. And I'll just highlight that April 25th appears to have been rock bottom, with a loss of 86% of weekly travel spending, or $455 million in North Carolina. If we look at that visually, our North Carolina spending looks pretty similar to the whole country. A very sharp decline around March 21st when the national state of emergency was declared, a somewhat flattening out through April, and very ever so slowly, we're starting to climb back out. Now I'm going to switch gears, and we're going to talk a little bit about, I've shared this the last 2 months. There's multiple research firms that specialize in travel research that are doing a variety of travel sentiment surveys. So Destination Analysts has done this same question the past 15 weeks, and all of this research is specifically being directed at travelers, so people who do travel away from home at least once a year for leisure. The orange line means people think the coronavirus situation is going to get worse or a heck of a lot worse. And you can see back in March, people were like, wow, it's pretty bad. Over 60% of people thought it was going to get bad. And then on April 3rd was the worst we ever saw. People, over 70% of travelers thought it was going to get bad. And then it kind of slowly got better. And unfortunately, if you look at the June 5th through 7th, we were getting to the point where the blue and the orange lines looked like they were about to cross, which is where people start to be more optimistic than less optimistic. And unfortunately, this is one of those reversed trends. There's been a lot of news lately about spikes in coronavirus cases across the entire country, including North Carolina. And so people have gone backwards, and they are now a lot less optimistic. More than half of travelers are less optimistic than they were 2 weeks ago. Another reversing trend is, in this case, the blue line is people who think it is somewhat unsafe or very unsafe to dine out. Again, you can see it climbed through mid-April, it was starting to flatten in June, and it's gone backwards again as well. Part of the reason Destination Analysts believe this is happening is some of these things. This is a new question they asked this week. In my community, too many people are not maintaining appropriate social distancing when in public. And almost 58% agree with that statement. Similarly, in my community, too many people are not wearing face masks in public. Over 55% agree. Travelers really want to see this is a phrase I've never heard of before, and I can't believe I'm saying this. Pandemic etiquette behaviors. People want to see other people taking care, that they care about everybody around them, and that goes to the safety as well. Do travelers, when do they think we will go back to normal? Not till there's a vaccine. Almost 61% don't see our travel industry being normal until there's a vaccine, or deaths from the virus drop significantly, or social distancing becomes the norm. Those are the top 3 responses to that question. Switching gears to Longwoods International, they've been doing this research every other week since March. And you can see, this is no surprise to any of us, the reason people are changing their travel plans for the most part is because of the virus. But the reason they're not changing their travel plans is the economy or their personal finances. And this is actually a little bit of good news, because it means if we can mitigate the virus, if we can educate consumers and our locals and our business partners on how important pandemic mitigation and etiquette behaviors are, people will travel because they're not worried about money. This is an interesting index that this company, MMGY, has done since 2007. So I realize it's a little hard to read, but all the way over on the left, if you can see my mouse, that is March of 2007. That's the very first time they conducted this survey, so that's our baseline. So if we're below the baseline, people are less inclined to travel. We're above it, they're more inclined to travel. And this big drop here was the Great Recession in 2008, 2009. So that's the lowest we have ever been in the US about not wanting to travel. And then if we move to the right, in about 2014, we go above the line, and travel has, the economy as a whole actually, has a fantastic run for almost 7 years. And then of course, we're here. And we've dropped below the line again, so people don't want to travel. But it's not that they don't want to travel for any reason other than perceived safety. So this index is made up of a couple of different pieces, and safety is one of them. Safety has never, ever, ever been this low. It's at 65, which is incredibly far below the baseline. Continuing, this same research company is doing something they're calling the Travel Safety Barometer. I like it, it's pretty easy to read. So you can see in this top one, traveling by car, people really feel is on the safe side. 74% of travelers consider it very safe, as opposed to flying is 36, and traveling by train or rail is 34. So of course, we already know this, drive markets are good, which is good for us. And again, MMGY, I've said this message, I said it last month, and I will continue to say it because research firm after research firm keeps finding the same thing. Safety will dictate if and when people travel. Experience will still determine where they go. So for us, this is good because going to a park, whether it's local, state, or national, is considered relatively safe. Going to the beach is considered relatively safe. In other words, being outdoors and where you can easily social distance, people will go do. And we have access to those things. And my last point on safety research is Expedia. Yet another company did some research asking travelers, what do you need in order to start traveling again? Number one, hygiene, cleanliness, and safety. Number two, people are really looking for flexibility because the next 6 months are rather uncertain. Values and deals was number three, but it was significantly less important than the first two. And then this last research I'm going to look at, and this is just the state of North Carolina, and I realize this looks like a mess, but it's actually very interesting. So this is Arrivalist, and they track the movement of cars weekly. Movement of mobile devices, which is mostly in cars lately. Every peak is a weekend, typically a Friday. And then the valleys, of course, are weekdays. So starting in February, they started capturing how far people were traveling away from home. And you can see in March, we're way below the average at 60 and 80% below the average, and the peaks in the valleys are significantly compressed. And then we have this nice little peak on Memorial Day weekend, and that's the highest amount of travel we have seen since the pandemic started. And you can see even through June, people are starting to travel away from home. So the good news is people are starting to travel. They do want to travel. We just need to make sure we can get them to come. So now I'm going to switch gears and we'll talk about our own data. You guys have seen April Smith travel data before. The reason I'm sharing it again is I was able to grab the state data. They tend to post it a week after our board meetings. And you'll see our occupancy for April was down 55%, which is pretty equivalent to the Northeast region at 55%. Our ADR was down 62. The whole region was down 69. Looking at May, May is actually looking so much better than April, which is just so dreadful to say, but we were only down almost 46% in RevPAR for the month of May, as opposed to the 60, which is what we had predicted about 2 months ago. So we're doing okay. There are people who are coming here, and hopefully with appropriate messaging and safety measures, we can get more. So I'll pause there for a second and just see if there's any questions on that research. I know that's a ton of information to share. Trust me, there's a lot more out there, but it's helpful to see what's happening in the entire country and in our state as a whole.
Madam Chairman, I got a question. This is Jeff.
Yes.
This is Jeff. I got a question for Karina.
I'm listening.
Okay.
Can you hear? Yeah. You know, in yesterday's, I think it was the state of New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, issued a not a ban, but any people from North Carolina entering those 3 states have to be quarantined for 2 weeks.
Correct.
Right.
And I believe there was an outright ban in one of the states, but I'm not sure now which one it was. But what kind of impact, or what kind of negative impact, I guess, you think that could have? Because obviously, if they don't want us to go there, they're not going to come here.
You're 100% correct. And to clarify, so New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut passed a new law requiring a 2-week quarantine of anybody who travels there from any of the states currently expecting spikes in virus cases. So North Carolina is one of those, Florida, Texas, California, Arizona. So we're not the only ones. But that said, that's going to hugely impact our travel. I mean, Myrtle Beach has been all over the news because they're a hot spot. People went on vacation there, caught the virus, brought it back home to a small town in West Virginia. The negative perception around traveling and catching the virus and bringing it back to your home community is going to impact the tourism community. What is it going to do for us? It depends on, I think, what the Outer Banks sees, because we're, at least in the summer, we're so reliant on people traveling to the Outer Banks, and they've been pretty steady on their cases, which is good for us. And now, of course, as of yesterday, that our governor has implemented a mandatory face mask, which I'm actually hoping will help, because if it's required that everybody wears a face mask, I'm hopeful that means that people will follow that rule, which will reduce our virus count which will also make people feel more safe, which will also help get more people out spending money in the economy. But we don't know.
Thank you.
All right.
Are there any other questions?
I have a comment, Johnny.
Okay.
Because of the pandemic, and I think a lot of it is predicated on what the media puts out there. You know, the media kind of controls what other people want to do. And people want to control their own travel. And they feel more safe if they're driving rather than flying because, you know, you can't control it. But what happens if there's an area that's spiking, nobody wants to go into that area. And, you know, the bad thing about it is none of these states or the whole country is not in a united way. You know, nobody's doing the same thing. People are wanting to do their own thing. And when that happens, you functions. And it's you know, this thing is the first time we have gone through it, never gone through it before. And we're making a lot of mistakes, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions of Karina? Okay. Continue.
All right, I'll go through this really quickly. As a reminder, again, I talked about this last month, and with all of the research really driving this point home, people need to feel safe in order to go out and spend money in the economy. The state of North Carolina, Visit NC, the North Carolina Lodging and Restaurant Association, the North Carolina Department of Health, all collaborated on this program called Count on Me NC. Visit Elizabeth City is a registered, certified Count on Me NC business. We did participate in the training. It is not that hard. So I definitely recommend that we continue to push that out. The state, Visit NC, is putting together a very large advertising campaign about this program directed at consumers, encouraging them to visit Count on Me NC participating businesses. That campaign will go live on July 1st. So we want to see as many Elizabeth City businesses included in that program as possible. The team has been working, mostly Carrie has done a great job working on drafting a safety plan, back to the office safety plan for us, for the team. I am not going to read through this. If anybody has questions, please follow up with me after the meeting. But for those of you who know our office space, we're tenants of the museum, and we have quite a few interactions with visitors and staff. We share small indoor workspaces and desks and office equipment. So we felt it important to develop a plan that will allow us to rotate office space, not share phones. We each now have our own laptop. We will wear masks when we're in public areas. If you're alone in your office, you don't have to. We're changing our policies on how we distribute brochures, etc. So this is a plan to keep the staff safe. Obviously, nothing's guaranteed, but we're doing our best with that. Although, again, with the governor's announcement yesterday, it appears the earliest we will be back in the museum and having the Welcome Center open won't be until July 18th. Yeah, because he left us at phase 2.
Yes.
And that is my very quick overview of lots of stuff.
Okay. Can you come on? Are you, Karina, are you done sharing?
Do you want me to keep going? Because I'm on,
no.
Okay.
Where are you?
I'm done with number 11. We didn't have any old business, so I moved.
Okay, right. But can you stop sharing screen?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Please.
Sorry.
Thank you. Okay, I can't see everybody. Is everybody on their video? Okay, that's what I wanted. Okay, so Karina, are you there?
I'm here.
You're frozen.
Oh,
Okay.
I can see
Maybe
everybody.
I guess it's my. Can you see everybody?
I can see everybody who's on screen, yes.
I'm not getting a good connection here.
No, you're fuzzy, but I can see like Arthur and Rhonda and Susan really clearly.
I am frozen. Okay, so I'm gonna, I may be frozen on the screen, but I'm definitely not frozen where I am. So wanted to sort of add one more item to your report. I learned recently that you have reason to continue to celebrate. I received an email, as we all did, from Karina, but it wasn't Ferguson. It was Karina Ruffier, or help me with that.
But Ruffier, yes. It's French.
Ruffier. So I wanted to take a moment, along with the members of the tourism board, to say congratulations to
Thank you.
And is Chris there?
He's here. He's in a meeting downstairs.
Oh, okay. He's there. And him. Well, I'm not certain if he was camera ready, so we won't go into that. But wanted to just take a moment to say congratulations to you and to Chris. We certainly wish you many, many years of wedded bliss. And if there's anyone else on the tourism board that would like to say anything, please do so. At some point during today, you will receive our virtual love.
Oh,
I won't
thank
tell you
you
what
very
that
much.
means.
Okay.
Anyone else want to say anything?
Absolutely.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Okay.
Great couple.
All righty. Okay.
Your money,
That's
sir.
why I wanted to see your face. Even though I may be frozen, I can see you and wanted to wish you well. So, and thank you so much for all that you do. And but of course, this is about your wedded bliss. So thank you and enjoy our virtual love today.
Thank you very
All right. So now getting back to the agenda, I don't believe we have any old business. So we'll move into our new business and we'll start with the marketing plan. And I believe that Rhonda referenced this earlier and everyone should have received a copy of it.
Correct. So I'll start by saying I did email the full 33-page marketing plan out to everybody a week-ish ago. And so I'm just going to quickly highlight it for you because we do have a lot of items. I'll preface this by saying we've never had a marketing plan before, so this was a heavy lift to create one. Bree is brand new. She's never written a marketing plan before, but she did a fabulous job jumping in with both feet and learning as much as she could. The marketing committee was very involved in helping us pull together all the information we needed for this plan. So I'm very appreciative of everybody. As a marketing focused organization, this is probably one of the most important documents we should have. It will help us do a better job with our marketing throughout the year. It will help us measure what we do well and what we can do better. And it is also a requirement for accreditation. So there's a whole lot of reasons for us to have this plan. So jumping into it really quickly, typically a plan, you start by looking at your strengths, what's difficult or your challenges, and what opportunities you have. I'm not going to go through all of these unless somebody has a question or wants me to go back to them. These were all developed again with the committee and discussed quite thoroughly. We also took a look at our own research, which is specific to Elizabeth City and Pasquotank County. And this is the research that we did last summer and was released last fall, and looked at the top 5 insights that are going to be important to us as we initiate this plan. And that is, of course, our brand, that we are quaint, friendly, and small and on the water, that people really want to dine. They want lots of stuff to do. They want places to, and they don't know very much about us. That people come here to see friends and family. Again, people for new stuff, they want to go out to eat and they want to be on the water. And of course, we know where our customers come from. Then, of course, we had to weave into our marketing plan this year the current state of the travel industry. So these US travel trends are actually from some of the research that I've been sharing with you during the last 3 board meetings, specific to the pandemic and how these things are going to impact us in our messaging. So the first trend is consumers do want to go to small rural destinations, which is good, and they don't want to see crowds. So our messaging and our imagery is going to need to change. People want to go to parks, restaurants, and beaches. We have access to all of those. Travelers do want to travel by car and stay close to home. Friends and family rises to the top yet again, and people will not travel unless they feel safe, and they're going to stay away from crowds. The next thing we did is we developed 5 goals, and these goals are things that we're going to refer back to all year long and make sure that we're working towards these things. Goal number 1 is probably always going to be goal number 1 for us. It's kind of our bread and butter. It's the mission that Gwen read at the beginning of the meeting. Increase demand for lodging, attraction visits, retail sales, restaurant receipts, and anything that grows the economic impact in our economy. Our second goal is we really want to work more with our local businesses and educate people as to what we do and how we can help them, because our job is to really promote everybody else. We want to continue to develop our relationships with our neighboring towns and our peers and the state. That is hugely important for us. And then getting a little more into the weeds, we want to create a wedding campaign and then work on an ambassador program. Our strategies are where are we going to spend our marketing dollars? And it's super important that we do this as consistently as possible throughout the year and on multiple channels, because not every person is on every channel. We, even with a small budget, we're able to build a plan that includes media relations, social media, email, traditional media, digital media, content creation, travel endemic sites like TripAdvisor or Expedia. And we really do need some new photography and videography for multiple of reasons. Our budget for the year is in the budget that we already approved, the $175,000, and that will be split pretty evenly across those different strategies I just reviewed, weighing most heavily on traditional media, digital media, content creation, and social media. Any plan really needs measurement tactics, so you know what you're doing well, what you can do better, and maybe what you should turn off. These were a little bit difficult for us to include because this is our first plan ever as an organization, but we did develop goals and measurement items for public relations, social media, content development, and email. And we'll continue to work on those. They'll kind of become a baseline for us as we move forward. And finally, as an organization, we always look at these metrics. Typically, you would aim for them to increase occupancy, ADR, RevPAR, but obviously given the current state of the industry, and we just saw our RevPAR is down 45%, and we're actually happy about that. These metrics are a little unusual this year, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't still look at them. We will also always look at the economic impact of tourism, which includes visitor spending, industry jobs, and state and local tax receipts. And of course, always the occupancy tax that we collect, which becomes our budget. So that is a very quick overview of a plan that we have been writing for quite a few months. And I'll pause there and also ask Rhonda, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I just wanted to thank every member of the committee because there was a lot of good work that went on, and particularly to the staff. Again, starting something from scratch is a very difficult move, and everybody just worked hard, gave good input, and it's very much appreciated. I'm really proud that we do have our first marketing plan. It's a long time in development, but it's here. So thanks to everybody for their work.
Yes, I got a question.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, okay. Karina, where do we fall now with our accreditation?
So we're about halfway, oh, can you see me? We're about halfway through a lot of those items. I actually, last week, Susan probably noticed when she was on vacation, I started working on new stuff for us. She was very thrilled, I'm sure, to get those emails. I can see you, you know. We have, the good news is a lot of the most difficult items, like the financial policies, the marketing plan, and the handbook, which I think is next on our agenda, or it's on the agenda. A lot of the really tough items, Jeff, we're very close to finishing, which will allow us to hopefully wrap up the rest of the accreditation items over the next 2 to 3 months. We do need to submit all of our paperwork by sometime in October, and there's an accreditation review committee. They will then review everything that we've submitted, and so that we will hopefully earn our accreditation by the end of the year.
Thank you. Sounds good.
Okay, are there any other questions about the marketing plan?
No.
Okay, Rhonda, thank you so very much. Staff and committee, thank you all so very much. I've had an opportunity to review the document. It's certainly very well done, and certainly a piece that we will be that we are proud of. So thank you for your work. Okay.
Do we need a motion for the board to officially?
Do we need a? Is this a vote? It's not. Is this require a vote? Okay.
It's not on the agenda, but it's on.
Yeah,
the,
it's not on the agenda,
package.
so that's why.
Madam Chairman, I make a motion to accept the marketing plan 20.
Okay, and is there a second?
Rhonda, this is second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the approval of the marketing plan. We will get the do a roll call vote. Gwen, approve.
Susan, you're on mute.
Susan, you're on mute. Okay, now.
I'm getting there. Okay, Phil?
Approved.
Abel?
Approved.
Did you say Andy?
Andy? Yes.
Approved.
Arthur?
Approved.
Johnny?
Yes.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. So we've had a motion and a second and an approval for the marketing plan. So now we'll move to the revised guidelines.
Yes, all right, I'll share those. Share. Okay, hopefully you guys, can you see my screen? No, can't.
No.
Try that again. Now, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so the, and Andy, I'll highlight this and then if you can add to it. So the Visitor Experience Committee, we adopted matching marketing grant guidelines last December as a board. We, as a committee, reviewed those guidelines in the last 2 months and made some improvements and modifications to them. They're really quite similar to what we adopted in December, but we did specifically discuss addressing the impacts of COVID-19 and allowing a loosening of our requirements so more people can apply for the grants. So existing programs as well as new and expanded programs can apply. We also realized that advertising to locals is just as important right now as advertising to visitors. We added a budget template. We added a few things to help the applicants streamline their process. And our marketing plan will now greatly help folks who are applying for the matching marketing grant as well. So we connected those two documents. We have 2 grant submission cycles this fiscal year. The first round applications will be due August 12th, and the second round, they will be due January 13th. And then, of course, in the budget we just adopted, we've got $25,000 currently available for these matching marketing grants. The budget says $30,500. That $5,500 variance is the 3 folks who were awarded in this past fiscal year. All of their programs, of course, were delayed or rescheduled due to COVID-19. So we agreed to carry those dollars forward. And so that additional $5,500 is kind of earmarked for those folks, assuming they do a similar program. Andy, do you want to add anything to that?
Nope, I do not.
Well, then with that, your staff and your visitor experience committee do recommend approving this grant program for next fiscal year.
Okay. Although it's not in, so these all will require a vote. Is that correct?
I don't believe we adopted it all as one item in December, so I would imagine that would suffice.
With the revision?
Correct. So here, there is, I'll bring it up. The actual document is the 12-page document.
Okay.
So it's the guidelines which go through, you know, who qualifies, who can apply, what you have to do, what you have to include. There's
right. I'm familiar.
Okay, so that's what we need to vote on, is this 12-page document.
Okay.
Madam Chair, this is Jeff. I make that motion.
Is there a second?
This is Phil.
This is Andy. I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for. We have a motion and a second for the approval of this. Are there any questions or concerns?
Yes, Johnny, I kind of lost, I don't have the screen in front of me. Which document is this concerning? Is this for the grant?
This is the matching marketing grant guidelines.
For the citizens, right?
Yes.
Okay, yes,
yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm,
For the nonprofits, yes.
Not
okay.
right.
Okay, I'm good.
Good. Okay. Any other questions or concerns? Hearing none, we will do the roll call vote. Susan?
Gwen,
Approved.
Phil,
Approved.
Abel,
Approved.
Arthur,
Approved.
Donnie,
Approve.
and we have Jeff and Andy making and seconding the motion.
And Rhonda approves.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rhonda. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay. Is that it? All right. All right. So then we have had a motion and a second and a unanimous approval for that document. Personnel policy?
Yes, ma'am. So the personnel policy, Jeff kind of teed it up, is definitely a requirement for accreditation that we have a modern and current personnel policy. This is something that we've actually been working on, I think, since January. It's a very dry document for those of you who helped work on it. Our current personnel policy was last reviewed and adopted in 2007. It had a lot of outdated elements. Actually, the very first time Susan and I met with John Leidy, he actually had a copy of our old policy and a couple of pages with a giant X and just the words no on it. So there were a few things we did have to take out. And I do think it's important to highlight, I'm not an HR expert, John is. And so he was heavily involved in the process from start to finish. And he conducted a thorough final review of the document that you all received several weeks ago. It does include things that we've never had before, like a whistleblower policy, a sexual and harassment and discrimination policy, a technology plan. We've removed outdated elements and really aligned ourselves with current HR needs and the needs of our organization as a small organization. We also had a volunteer group of board members who I greatly appreciate their input and time as well. That was Gwen, Rhonda, and Maureen all reviewed this. So with that, I didn't intend to read the entire 1,000-page booklet to you today. That's why we sent it so long ago.
Oh, they have read it. They've all read it, Karina.
They've all read it. I know, thoroughly. It's very interesting reading. So I would say if there's any questions, please ask. And that we are at this point recommending adoption of this policy effective July 1st.
Karina, this is Sherry. I did actually read the first 16 pages until Sparty came in. I had to look at something else yesterday, so I have been reading it.
You get bonus points, Sherry.
Okay. On page 16, it talks about military leave, and then it says employees who qualify for reemployment following military service will return to work at a pay level and status equal to what they should have attained had they not taken military leave. The next sentence will imply that you will buy back retirement time for them. But it says they will be treated as though they were continuously employed for purposes of determining benefits based upon length of service. And retirement is based upon length of service.
Employees who qualify will return to work at a pay level. I'm reading it, and it's on the screen for anybody who can see the screen.
And I think what you're saying is for vacation accrual and for sick leave, they would start accruing as if they had never left, and that's fine. But you have to be careful when you're contributing to a retirement system and you have a gap in that contribution, then sometimes it might be construed as that's implied that the TDA will buy back the time that the gap. Ask John about it.
That's exactly, I'd have to ask John. This is one of the policies that he wrote, and I think he basically said we don't really have a choice, and he put in most of that language. But I think that's a good catch.
That's what y'all pay me for.
Ah.
You make a lot, don't you, Sherry?
Yeah, I do.
This is Arthur. I'll
Okay,
make
so
a
we'll
motion
circle back.
yeah. This is Arthur. I'll make a motion to approve the document with the caveat that Karina run that question back by
Yes.
John. If he pronounces that it is what it is supposed to say and has to say, then our vote today will carry. If she learns that there's a change to be made, she'll bring it back before the board for a future vote.
Great. Is there a second to that?
This is Rhonda. I second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second for the approval of the personnel policy contingent upon the review of the section that we just discussed. Roll call vote, please.
But you might have, do you have questions?
Oh,
you didn't
I'm
do-
sorry.
Yeah.
Any additional questions or concerns? I'm sorry.
Johnny.
Yes, sorry about
certain
that.
thing. I mean, these last two issues, they're not. It's not like we need to do it right away like today, is it? Because Sherry did find something, and it had to go to John to correct. But the next item to me, I will get to that as we go, I guess. But thank you, madam. I don't have anything else on that issue.
Okay.
But it's a good thing.
Thank you.
It's a good thing that it is a good thing that somebody else has to view it before we approve it.
Well, yes,
But
we asked that the tourism members still continue to read it. And as Karina mentioned at the beginning, there was a committee, and we did sort of tear it apart. But of course, you can get another eye that can see things.
One more
that
eye
we
might
may
be
not
needed.
have seen. So.
Yes, good deal. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or concerns? Are we then moving forward with the vote? Okay.
Gwen,
Approve.
Phil,
Approved.
Abel,
Approve.
Andy,
Approve.
Johnny,
Approve.
and who am I missing this time? Jeff.
That's me, Jeff. I approve.
And we have Rhonda and Arthur making the motion in second. Got it.
Okay, so we've had a motion and a second and unanimous approval, and we shall await the response from John regarding the section that was questioned. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
So we now move on to.
Madam Chair. May I, this
Yes,
is where my
please.
comment was coming from. Could we wait rather than going through the same process with this until other members will look at this document, because it is intense. I was perusing it, and it has a lot to involve. I would love for the city, I would love for the attorney to view it and the other members, before I give an approval of it. And I don't think that'll take too long to have it done. That's why I was asking the same questions previously.
Okay, so then are you then removing your approval?
Trying to suspend going over this item until other people have seen the document.
I don't understand which item is Councilman Walton referring to.
I'm talking about the
Personnel
proposed
policy?
city.
Yeah, he's talking about the entire document, I think.
No, I'm talking about the proposed city
Oh,
and
you're just talking
county.
about that section?
The next item, yes.
Oh,
We haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, we haven't
Okay.
gotten there yet.
But it's up next, isn't it?
It is up next, but
That's
I just
why
was
I asked.
closing out that. Oh,
Okay,
I'm sorry.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, you can still you can still indicate what you're saying, but let me just close this out. Okay, so we've now closed out the personnel policy with the motion and the second and unanimous approval contingent upon the outcome of Karina's conversation with John regarding the subject matter that was discussed. So now we'll move to the proposed city county restricted funds guidelines.
I apologize. I thought you had made that statement.
No, that's fine. You're fine.
So what I just said is, I repeat it. I hope everybody heard it. If not, do I need to say it again?
Are you making a motion to
No, I'm not.
delay this?
To suspend it until other people, another eye can see it. And then as we return, we can finalize this motion.
So there's a motion then to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, this is Andy. I don't believe it was a motion, Gwen. I may be incorrect. I think he's just asking for conversation about having it suspended. Is that correct,
Yes.
Johnny?
Oh, okay.
So if I may speak to that, my concern being is I don't particularly care to set a precedent where our documents, our policies and procedures are going to be vetted by city council, county commissioners, and anybody else in the community. I believe these are our documents to approve and don't need a set of eyes from the city or the county in regards to the regulations that we're going to impose on them, or rules and regulations that they'll need to follow.
Well, I'm not saying that they shouldn't, Andy. I'm just saying I haven't had a chance to digest it myself yet. And I hate to approve something that I don't fully understand.
But I thought you had mentioned you wanted to have other people on city council review it as well for feedback.
They have a better feedback to me, you know. I mean, I still need to look at it. It's a lot in it, man. It's about 3 or 4 pages.
Yeah, it is. I can definitely agree with you on that.
This is Arthur. Question, Karina. Or have we shared this proposed document with city and county staff?
We have not. Sherry, of course, has seen it, and the Visitor Experience Committee has gone through it. It's been done like pretty much every other document of our, to quote Andy, it's our document. We did take the old guidelines that this board adopted back in, I think, 2006. Quite a few of them were old or didn't make sense or were policies that we didn't follow through with anyways, so we stripped all of that out. We added in elements really aligning the guidelines to the state legislation, which we have to do because that's the law. And then we clarified examples of projects that do qualify for tourism expenditure funds, and also examples of projects that don't. So it's but no, it has not been shared for feedback. We can certainly do that. It would be up to the board.
This is Jeff. Can I chime in on the county side? And I was also on the committee, but there's really, and I understand Councilman Walton wants to vet it himself and fully understand it because he's a new board member, but being on this authority board from the duration, it's really not that much of a change. It's pretty much what Karina said. It was just kind of cleaned up, and a lot of stuff that didn't make sense was taken. And as a commissioner, I was very concerned with this new guideline, but at the end of it, I was very pleased with it. It really didn't make that many changes. So I can speak. I think I can speak, Sherry, that the county, I think, is fine with it.
I don't see any problems with it.
It's not that many changes. It was just kind of cleaned up, and you know, I mean, obviously, well, I don't want to use the dirty word, the pines, but it's not still going to do anything to help out the pines unless it's done in a different way. So that said, I've got no problems with it.
But as far as discussion, but Jeff, you have had time to review it and give your thoughts on it. I mean, you were part of the committee. I mean, I know you're going to approve it. You already have approved it. But I'm saying, as a person that had not really looked at it critically, maybe not critically, but it's a lot of information that I would rather not approve rather than approve and then come back and have a problem with it. I know that this has been done now, but it took 6 months to have it done, Jeff. At least another 2 weeks not going to hurt anything, I wouldn't think.
Well, I agree. Johnny. I mean, there's no deadline or anything that needs to be hit. So, I mean, a 2-week delay or whatever, how long it takes in the county of that, I'll, make sure that Sparty vets it too. So, I mean, I'm fine with
Okay.
it.
All right, so based on what I'm hearing, and since there is no deadline, is that correct, Karina, right now? In terms of within the next week or two?
Not unless
Madam-
there's any outstanding potential requests by the city or the county to access tourism expenditure funds, in which case we really would want the new guidelines sooner, or the cleaned up guidelines sooner rather than later. I'd also add,
Correct.
well, I mean, no document that we adopt as a board is set in stone forever. And even our new matching marketing grant guidelines that we just re-adopted, we made improvements to them in the past couple of months. We had a couple questions that came up. We realized we could streamline it, so we did. So I would suggest that the intent of this document, we can, at whatever point in time, certainly do that same thing, improve them, make them even clearer.
Can I make a motion?
So what I would like to suggest, I'm sorry?
Can I make
Did I
a
hear
motion?
someone?
This is Abel.
Is this April? Yes, okay,
Yes.
well, go ahead.
I would like to make a motion that we do, we hold off for the next couple of weeks since we don't have a deadline so that the document can be reviewed. But I don't know if I need to add to the motion that contingent upon not approving any other requests until
Funding
this document
request.
is updated.
Okay,
Madam Chairman, because we were going to take action on this, the proper way is to table this motion, or to table this item.
table the item.
And then you as chair can bring it back up at your discretion, and it could be, the next board meeting. That would give city and the county plenty
Gotcha.
of time to vet it and come back.
Sounds
That's what
like a plan. So we will then,
I would do.
thank you, Jeff. We will table the proposed city county restricted funds guideline item.
Thank you.
And
I'm sorry,
I know
I had a
Abel-
question for
Abel
my
had made a
minutes.
motion. Yeah.
I'm
So
sorry.
now I guess Abel will need to withdraw his motion.
No one seconded.
No one said,
No one,
I
said-
will withdraw
okay,
if I need
good.
to.
But he's still for the, okay. Thank you.
Okay, so there is no motion, is that correct?
Correct.
There's a motion to table.
Correct. Abel has withdrawn.
Table.
Yes, correct. So this item has been tabled.
Do we
Okay,
need a
do we-
motion to table?
okay,
don't need a
and I'm sorry, do I need a motion for the table?
Yes.
That's
I'll
what
make
it is, a motion to table.
Yeah, that's my motion. I make a motion to table it.
Thank you, and then,
Is there a second?
thank you.
This is Jeff, I'll second it.
Okay,
And
so we
And
have a motion,
this
a
is-
second. Go ahead.
so as part of that, I mean, directive, or I would think that what we're trying to do is in the spirit of cooperation. These are our main two partners. Is that the staff during this time period while we're tabling it is going to share this document with city staff, county staff, i.e. Rich, Sparty, or whoever they appoint, for any sort of comments that or concerns that they may have that would come before us when we act on it next time.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's part of the motion?
I don't think that needs to be, the motion is.
Doesn't need to be part of the motion.
Okay,
I think that this is just sort of a directive
To
to
the
the staff
to staff,
to
that's right.
request that they
Have an
share it with city and county staff and request their input in a timely manner so that we can act on it as soon as possible.
okay.
I got it.
Okay, so where are we? So a roll call vote?
Roll call.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so just to be clear, I have a motion by Abel to table this discussion until the next TDA meeting, seconded by Jeff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, Gwen,
Approved.
Phil,
Approved.
Andy,
Approved.
Johnny,
Approve.
Arthur,
Approved.
and Rhonda.
Approve.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second for tabling this item with unanimous approval. Other business. Well, special recognition. We had intended to have, well, hopefully Maureen was going to be on the line, but she's not. But this would have been or is her last meeting. And so wanted to just take a moment to thank her for her many, many years. I believe it's been maybe 14 years of service to this board. Certainly her participation, her input and her service has been invaluable and will be missed. So we thank her for her untiring service, and she should be receiving today just a small token of our appreciation. So hopefully it will be on her doorsteps very, very soon. Thank you to Karina and Susan for putting that piece all together. Of course, that gift cannot measure what she means to us, but it's just, again, as I mentioned, just a token of our appreciation for all that she has done for this city and for this board. So let's all just clap it up for Maureen, even though she's not here to hear it. But if you have an opportunity, board members, at some point this afternoon, maybe just send her an email just to let her know that we've truly missed her for this meeting and she will be missed as we go forward. So thank you so much for agreeing to do that. Any other, do we have any other tourism business? Karina, I think we've done.
We've covered a lot.
We covered a lot, yes. But I believe, is Debbie on the line?
No.
Okay, what about Christian? I thought I saw him at one point.
He was, Holly was, it looks like they both left.
And Holly and Michelle?
Michelle's the only.
Anything you wish to share?
I'll just give a quick 2-second update. We have this week been hosting town hall meetings for employees and students and families about returning to ECSU campus for the fall. We have one this evening with our students and their families, so we're excited about that. We know we're gonna have lots of questions about what it means to come back to the university amidst the pandemic. But also want to let you know we are working with MACU and COA to plan another one in July, and we are inviting a couple leaders within Elizabeth City to be a part of that town hall meeting where all the institutions of higher education can share what they're doing with the community, with their students, with families, to protect and ensure as much as we can the safety and health and well-being of our students and our campus communities. And then also, what does the city of Elizabeth City look like as well? So as they're returning to this community, what can they expect when they come into Elizabeth City, and how this community is also keeping its community members safe. So look for that. We'll promote that throughout social media and our web, but wanted to let you know that we do plan to have kind of a town and gown town meeting with all of our partners in July. So thank you.
Oh, all right, thank you. Anyone else have any announcements? Okay, hearing none, I want to thank you all for your work, and want to remind you to continue to stay well and stay safe. I look forward to seeing what you all look like in your masks. if we see each other passing in the grocery store or what have you. But thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you for your patience and working through all the things that we need to do for our the continued work of tourism. So take care.
Be safe.
Happy Thursday.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Hey, Bree. You're muted.
Hello. Hello.
Hey. Hi, Wes. Is it just us? I guess it's just okay.
Bill and Sherry and Jeff.
I don't know. It looks like they've hung up though, because we had, I think Phil and Sherry were here twice because they called in or something. I don't know. But anyway, so as you can see, I did not have to leave the meeting early because Maureen was not in the meeting.
Oh, gotcha.
Because I was going to take her gift so that she could get it. And do you have any idea if Karina got the flowers?
I don't know. She didn't get up, I don't think.
I know. So anyway, so I'm going to call her now. I mean, I'm going to video call her, one of Teams call her.
They
And
said
see.
2:15 would be no problem, so.
Well, and I heard her doorbell because she gets it on her phone. And I forgot too, she probably even saw the woman standing there because I think she gets a picture.
She just didn't
So
answer.
maybe Chris got it, and anyway, so whatever. But I'm going to call her.
Okay.
I'll talk to you later.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.